Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once again to an episode of Bulldrek Reviews Anime. My name is Bull, and we're going to be talking this time around about a new anime on Crunchyroll called Sweetness and Lightning. Now, I've seen the first 5 episodes, so I'm going to kind of do a first impression of the series based on those 5 episodes. Not going to be real any spoilers in this particular video, because it's not really a show that you can really spoil at this point, I don't believe. Sweetness and Lightning is what is referred to as a healing anime. And healing animes are these light, fluffy animes that don't really seem to have a whole lot of serious... They're not a serious anime necessarily. I mean, they're not like comedies. They're usually kind of lighthearted, just kind of fun, with really likable, enjoyable characters doing slice-of-life stuff. They go about their slice-of-life days, just doing their stuff. There's not really a whole lot of plot to the show. There's not really a whole lot of... there's nothing deep. It's not really usually going to make you... It's not going to make you think a whole lot. It's just a show that you can sit down and enjoy for what it is, at face value. And it's really good for that, I guess. Last season's Flying Witch was a similar type of show. So, what is Sweetness and Lightning about? Well, Sweetness and Lightning follows a character named Kohei. Kohei is a teacher. He's a high school teacher. He is also, sadly, a recent widower. His wife died sometime before the show starts, not too long before, and he is left with a 5-year-old daughter named Sugame. Kohei is not very good with household chores, especially cooking. And he's also usually very, very busy with work. He's, at school all day, and then he's, doing grading papers or whatever else he's doing half the night and doesn't get home until late sometimes. So unfortunately, Sugame is kind of on her own a little bit. And more importantly, while she loves to eat, she's stuck generally eating, bento boxes, basically convenience store prepackaged meals. Much to both her and Kohei's dismay. In the first episode, they meet another character named Katori. Katori is a high school student, although they don't quite realize that at the beginning, whose family owns a restaurant. So she basically gives Kohei a business card and says, "Hey, come to my restaurant sometime." Well, a couple nights later, Sugame's really hungry. He doesn't really have any food in the house, and he really wants to give her something good. So he decides to go to that restaurant. Unfortunately, the restaurant is closed because Katori's mom is she's basically got some sort of television cooking show or something that she does, so she's never around very often. So the restaurant, while it's a family business, isn't actually open very often. But Katori kind of feels bad for them, so she lets them in. And she doesn't really know how to cook a whole lot herself, but she's able to whip up some rice, and it's really delicious. And in the process, they kind of form a friendship. And that's kind of what the rest of the show is about from there on out. The show is largely about Kohei and Katori learning to cook, usually with recipes that Katori's mom hooks them up with. So that Sugame can have some great meals. Now, this isn't a food porn show on the level of something like, say, Food Wars, but it is a little bit. I mean, they definitely show a lot about cooking, and there are some very good-looking cooking dishes. But that's not necessarily the focus of the show, although, I mean, the cooking segments are a long portion of it. I mean, generally speaking, you get about 5-10 minutes of setup for, okay, we're doing this, now let's go eat. And then they go, well, okay, we're going to make this tonight. And then the rest of the time is with them cooking in the kitchen and the hijinks and stuff that go along with it. And honestly, the show is called Sweetness and Lightning, which I'm not entirely sure why. That's obviously the translated name. But the sweetness part, I've got down pat, and that is Sugame. Sugame is basically bottled cuteness. She is nothing but adorable, and I will post... I'm going to actually just take a couple moments, and if I can figure out... I always get that mixed up. let's move aside a little bit. And over here, we're gonna put some pictures of Sugame. Several pictures. So I'll give enough time for me to edit those in. Yay, pictures. Sugame is adorable. She is a precocious little kid. She's smart, but generally tends to act a lot like a kid. I mean, it's not one of those shows where the 5-year-old acts like an adult half the time. No, she generally speaking acts like a kid. She's a very well-behaved kid most of the time. She's a smart kid most of the time. But at the end of the day, she's still a kid and will frequently act like a kid. And it's just this neat little show about this dad and his daughter and a high school girl making food. It's cute. It's fun. I highly recommend it. It's an enjoyable little show. Now, I do want to touch on one thing that it was one of those things I thought about. It's one of those things I've seen a few people mention about. And that is the fact that there's a weird little aspect to it that basically there's a high school girl hanging out with a guy who turns out to be one of her teachers, and is cooking for him and his daughter. And that with anime, especially with anime, one of your first thoughts almost always tends to go towards, well, is this, is she crushing on him, or is he going to be sleazy or anything like that? And so far in the show, there's been nothing of the sort and no hints of the sort, and from what I understand from people who've read the manga, it never goes that way, really. Apparently there's a few hints here and there that Katori may have a mild crush on him, but it's never anything more than what you get in real life when a high school student kind of has a mild crush on a cute teacher. It's not something that's ever looks like it's ever going to go anywhere. You never know what's going to happen. They could go in a weird direction down the line, but for the moment, it seems to be good. So, I just figured, in case anybody was wondering, no, despite the setup, there's no weirdness going on. It's just, like I said, it's very much designed to be a healing anime, which is just light, sweet, fluffy, happy, enjoyable. And it very much is. Kohei he comes off very much as a father who's now outside of his depth. He wasn't prepared to be a single parent. He wasn't prepared to do the household stuff. And he's out of his depth. He doesn't know what to do, and you could see that it bothers him, it frazzles him, but he doesn't necessarily, especially at the very beginning, he doesn't know how to handle it. Katori, on the other hand, comes off as a very lonely girl. You get the impression that for whatever reason, she doesn't seem to have a whole lot of friends. She does have at least one friend that she hangs around with occasionally, but she seems very, very reserved, very private. And I think she's also, because, like I said, her mom owns this restaurant, and her mom does some sort of cooking show. We never really see a whole lot of that, so I don't know. We haven't seen anything with the mom yet, so I don't know what all's going on there. How famous she is or anything along those lines. But you get the impression that Katori's maybe always been afraid to try, because she comes off as she doesn't really know how to cook. She's following these recipes that her mom's giving her, but she doesn't really seem to know what she's doing. And you kind of get the impression that maybe she's been a little shy, maybe a little reserved, and maybe a little scared to try to live up to what her mom does. So, I don't know. It's been interesting. Like I said, the characters are a lot of fun. The show is fantastic. And again, Sugame! Let's get the name right. Sugame, yay, is just absolutely adorable. She is just a bundle of sugar and caffeine, and she's fantastic. So, anyways, check out the show. It's a lot of fun. I highly recommend it. The first 5 episodes have been a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the season. I'm hooked. It's one of the shows I'm definitely going to be watching all season. So, check it out. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you like this video, please click like. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos along these lines. And I do a Patreon, and that's how these videos get made. And if you're interested in checking out all the various things I do for Patreon, because I do videos and a whole bunch more stuff, please check me out at patreon.com/Bulldrek, and I'll have that in the link below here as well. So, all right. Thanks a lot for watching, folks. Hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you next time.